everybody, welcome inside the UPMC Rooney Sports Complex. I am Missi Matthews. It is time for our Steelers Roundtable here on Steelers Live. So let's introduce you to our panel today, getting ready for free agency. Matt Williamson, as I always say, unwillingly joining us, or probably more so willingly than the next gentleman joining us today on the panel. That would be Bob Labriola, of course. It's okay, Labs. Just stick with it. And then Wolf. We got him off the cruise ship. He's happy to be here. You have a little tan going on.
No, that's just because I'm red-faced, period.
Oh, okay. All right. Well, I thought maybe you got a little tan. So, all right, quickly before we talk about tight ends and D-line, let's take a look at the Steelers' 6 draft picks for the upcoming NFL draft. They did get a compensatory pick, that third round, the pick 102 the other day. So 6 picks to work for as they push forward closer and closer to the draft. Let's talk about tight ends. I think this is one a lot of Steelers fans would like to hear all of your opinions on. So we do have some Twitter questions. We'll jump right into them to start the conversation. This first one is from Heather. Do you guys think the 3 tight ends that were on the 53-man roster last year will be the same tight ends for the upcoming season? Labs, we'll start with you.
I hope not, because I think that, I think we're all in agreement that the Steelers did not get what they needed from the tight end position last year. Everybody kind of?
Oh, yeah.
Okay. So I don't know that it would be realistic to just assume that those guys are either going to be a lot healthier and or improve to the degree that they will then give you what you're looking for. Free agency might intervene as well. Nick Vanette is unrestricted. So we'll have to see. But I would certainly hope that there would be some attempt, to mix it up a little bit.
My biggest hope, though, is for a Zach Gentry to have that year of being able to get in the weight room, beefcake his way down at the, because you got great chow here down on the south side, right? Beefcake your way there, get some weight on, get that muscle going. He's got all the physical attributes to be able to contribute at a higher level, but he's got to be able to realize that. And part of that's going to be with his physical ability. You go back to Jesse James. Jesse in his first year, everyone's kind of like, he wasn't really physical, he didn't block as well, those sorts of things. But you get him fleshed out for a year with Marcel and with Guy over there in the weight room, and you get enough of the, get hitting Golden Corral and stuff like that. And before you know it, you got yourself somebody blossoming. And I think Zach Gentry is one of those guys that could make a jump and make this group be pushed forward a lot.
That would go a long way. Matt Spaeth made a jump, James made a jump. The thing is, though, from a production standpoint, the Patriots, surprisingly the Patriots, the Bears and the Steelers are right at the bottom of the league in tight end production. Some of it, I think, was because there's so many bodies in the middle of the field.
And the quarterback.
And right,
too.
Ben's going to open up everything for everyone and attack the outside, and that'll help. But the problem is, I'm with Labs. They didn't get enough out of the tight end position, but it is not a buyer's market at all. The free agency situation is very thin. It's a very light draft for the position, too. So it'll be really interesting how it shakes out.
All right. Sorry, go ahead, Labs.
No, I was just going to comment on what Wolf said about Zach Gentry. I share optimism about his future. I just don't know that you can compare him to Matt Spaeth or Jesse James, because this is a guy who went to college as a quarterback. You know what I mean?
And I know. You got to pound that out of them a little bit.
Well, and if the Steelers don't, those guys he lines up against on the end of the line of scrimmage,
they do a great deal in being able to do that. And I go back to, Nick Vanette is another guy. And again, you kind of overlook Vance because we're not sure what's going to happen there with him. We're, as far as the marketplace. But Nick Vanette is a tough guy. He can bang. Now, he might have some deficiencies in other areas, maybe, route running, pass catching, those sorts of things. But he can still catch the ball, but he's a big, strong body, and he's not afraid to put his grill right in somebody else's grill, and that's one of the things that I love about him.
Matt, I do want to get to the second Twitter question. Both of these guys have kind of weighed in on Zach Gentry. They want to know, have you seen enough from Gentry, which isn't very much his rookie season, to assume he can fill in as that tight end number 2 role? This question is from Justin.
No. The short answer is no. There is some optimism there. He is a very moldable piece of clay. You knew he was going to be a project. You knew he was going to get a redshirt year. But he needs a lot more strength. He needs a lot more work in uprooting defensive ends. I mean, the number 2 tight end plays a lot of snaps. He's not to assume that he can do that right now is a real leap of faith.
All right, so we'll do the thumbs up, thumbs down. Which way is this group trending, guys?
All you got to do is.
Or you could do middle.
You can just simply go. I prefer, like, when you assume, you know what happens when you assume?
I didn't assume.
I ain't saying nothing more, okay? But right now they're a little bit flatlined until we see where they're going to go with Vance McDonald, if you would ask me.
Okay. All right, that is fair. We are going to take a quick break. When we return, we'll talk about the Steelers' D-line as we get closer to free agency.
Hey, you know what? Let's just score the game. Oh.
Still up by 3.
Oh, man, nice.
It's realistic.
Dude, Franco's a legend.
Whoa. Hey, did you know you can watch highlights on the new Steelers app?
Download the Steelers official mobile app today and never miss out on any of the action. You can also receive app alerts straight to your phone when new episodes of Steelers Live are available. Just go to the settings page in the app and toggle on Steelers Live notifications.
Bless you.
Welcome back, everyone. Time now to talk about the Steelers' defensive line as we head closer and closer towards free agency. Let's look at the list currently on the Steelers roster as we speak. A lot of names that you guys know there. Stephon Tuitt, a big one, coming back from an injury. Kevin Colbert said at the Combine that he is on track. Cam Hayward, guys, said at the Pro Bowl he is willing and able to do a new contract if that helps with the cap space. So let's talk about this group, and we will start with one of the big free agents. This question is from Michael. Will the Steelers keep Jayvon Hargrave? He played a key role with Tuitt being out last year. We'll start with you, Matt.
I fear the answer is no. I mean, he is the exact type of guy that the Steelers traditionally keep. You know, you bring him along slow, his role grows and grows, his first contract comes up, make him a long-term Steeler. But I think on the open market, with as much cap space as teams have, he's going to get 12 to 14 million, which is a huge number, and be an every down player. And with Tuitt coming back, which is a nice problem to have, of course, he's probably a 40 to 50% snap guy, and you just can't put that kind of money into him, unfortunately. But so these new teams will be awfully happy with him, I think.
Wolf?
Yeah, I'm afraid that it's a double no-go. I mean, Jayvon has just exploded. I mean, you look at his snap counts went up and his production went up, and he's just that type of guy that, you know, with that first step quickness and everything. But you got a guy named Isaiah Buggs who kind of does put a bug in my ear, if you will. A little, you know.
You had to go there.
I had to go there, you know.
It's okay.
All right, but the fact is that young man has a lot of the same qualities and attributes that was displayed by Jayvon, and in the growth process, he might have that opportunity and ability to be able to capitalize on it. Look, it's about Stephon Tuitt. I mean, the guy, this guy is a monster. When he got hurt last year, as I said last year, he wasn't just beating people, he was beating people up. You know, I mean, when he was destroying offensive lines, when he had back-to-back sacks, where was it? Was it here? I can't even remember where it was. But he had back-to-back sacks, and it was just that type of ability to crash a line. I mean, this guy really was on an upswing, and it's just unfortunate that he finished the season on injury like that. But he certainly is a guy that I think between Cam and him, man, oh man, you got some real heartbreakers on the inside.
Yeah, Stephon Tuitt, 3.5 sacks. He played 5 games, really. He was injured in the 6th game, but I think he only played 4 defensive snaps in that 6th game against the Chargers in L.A. You know, if you project his totals to the end of the season, 70 tackles and 11 sacks is the kind of season Stephon Tuitt was on track for. The other guy you mentioned, Cam Hayward, he is the only player, he is the only interior defensive lineman in franchise history. There's a few good guys in that group.
Yes, I know where you're going.
To be named first-team AP All-Pro more than once. So Joe Green's the other, in case you were wondering.
He gave you the answer to the test.
Well, I didn't know I was supposed to answer because I read that. I read your stuff, man.
So, but you know, so Tuitt and Hayward obviously are the cornerstones of this group, and I think that, and they're paid accordingly. And I really think that, the numbers are just not going to work for Jayvo Hargrave. They're just not. You cannot have that kind of money invested in a three-man defensive line. The other thing is, Jayvo Hargrave has, a lot of people look at him, Steelers fans, I think, and see kind of Casey Hampton Jr., the way he's built, but he's really nothing like Casey Hampton, I don't think. His forte, in my mind, is his quickness, his ability to rush the passer from the interior of the defensive line. Casey Hampton was much more of a run stuffer, you can't move me out of this hole kind of defensive lineman. So the way the league has evolved, Jayvo Hargrave's particular strengths, I just think it all adds up to, he's going to get a better offer and he's going to leave. I think the Steelers would love to keep him, but I just don't see the numbers working out.
All right, I just want to say for both of these position groups, Wolf has jumped to the second question, even though he didn't even know what the second Twitter question was.
Impressive.
So we're going to go to it anyways. Ryan wanted to know what D lineman right now on the roster would be best suited to replace Hargrave at nose tackle. I know you talked about Bugs. Kind of stepping up. For Matt and Labs, who do you guys see stepping up if Hargrave does indeed leave in free agency like we're expecting?
A player to be named later, maybe a 4th or 5th round pick that you can develop like you did with Hargrave. To Labs' point, I mean, you don't need Casey Hampton. It's not the 90s, it's not the 80s, but that position does still have some value. I definitely think they need to challenge McCullers' roster spot without question. So I think someone from outside the organization is going to be your 320-pound nose.
And in the meantime, because I agree with you, Matt, I don't think you draft a guy and stick him in that position and he plays right away. In the meantime, I think Tyson Alualu can be a third guy. Right. I think he is versatile enough. He has the pedigree, former #1 pick. He has the experience. You can put him, I believe, between Tuitt and Hayward and get by. Because once again, I mean, your defense, you look at it, I mean, you have the two edge guys, premier edge guys, both of them, and as a tandem, Devin Bush. There are a lot of really good people on this defense. And so, Tyson Alualu, maybe he is not really cut out specifically for the role that you would eventually like a player to be able to fill. I think he can get you through the first part, maybe the entire 2020 season, filling in, and Isaiah Buggs, as Wolf mentioned, I think he can get by.
I think between the two of them, Isaiah Buggs getting, again, that year of being in the weight room, getting kind of used to the level of competition here in the NFL, and you have him, and you got Tyson Alualu, who, that's a great point, Labs. I mean, this guy is a complete pro. This guy's got pass rushing ability. He's got run stopping ability. It's not going to be the flashy stuff that you'd see a Tuitt have or Cam Hayward, or he doesn't have quite the same one-step capabilities as a Jayvon Hargrave, but he still gets the job done, and he's a veteran. He knows how to be there, doesn't make mistakes, and if he's not going to get blown out, he might not make the big tackles for loss, but he's somewhere in between that gets the job done, as you put.
Let me just throw a little wet blanket on this, though.
Okay.
Carl Dunbar loves the rotation.
Right.
They got to have somebody who is not a detriment.
Right.
Because if not, then you possibly could get into a situation where you're playing Tuitt and Hayward too much early, and then they're either worn down or injured at the end of the season. So I really think that while I believe that they can make do and patch and rotate and that kind of thing, they better find someone that they feel comfortable with who can eat up some snaps without being a detriment, because you don't want to overuse, your two thoroughbreds.
And we mentioned about the tight ends that it's not a buyer's market, it's a draft or free agency. You can always find a veteran nose tackle, on the cheap, late in the process, that has at least played snaps in this league, can eat up some space, like Lab said too. So it's not a real difficult position to find.
All right, so are we going thumbs up, middle, or down for this group?
I'm up.
Tuitt coming back is up.
I thought Tuitt was the best defensive player at the time he got hurt. And with all respect to Watt and Cam and all those guys, him coming back is thumbs up.
But I will say this, and it bugs Cam, but he has ascended to greatness. I'm sorry, it's simple. Just a stat you quoted, and I know he gets bugged when you say compare him to Joe Green, and I'm not comparing him to Joe Green because there can only be one Joe Green. But the one thing about Cam that you have to understand, the whole defense is better just for him being out there. He's one of those rare guys. There's adders, subtractors, multipliers, and dividers. He's a multiplier of those around him. And you watch that, you see it in the locker room, you see it in practice, and then you see it in the games. And that's why I think you compare in the comparison. Joe Green was a multiplier, and in that way Cam is, and he has ascended to that level of greatness. Not Joe Green, but who is Joe Green? But Joe Green, right?
All right, well, guys, thanks so much for joining me this week. That's going to do it for this edition of Steelers Live. Thanks for joining us. We'll see you next week.